In speaking with Tim Ward, the program manager for the South Carolina Medical Malpractice Association, Senator Brad Hutto asks, how do they determine whether they're in an insurance crisis? Years ago, the medical malpractice insurance industry was in a situation similar to what the liquor liability insurance market is going through today. So they've got some historical perspective on the problem.
In the insurance world, how do you determine that there's actually a crisis? At what point does the number of insurers writing or the number of policies that are available make something a crisis?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what we have now is while you have, let's say, the data that we got through the research that was done with the department, which was a big project, and there were 47 or so, I think, that were licensed, but that doesn't mean they're actively writing. And so what you run into now is you have carriers that are very restrictive and limiting how much exposure they're willing to take in a market that has loss ratios in the over 200%. So while they're licensed, they're not necessarily writing. And so what they'll do is they'll pull back and they'll have exposure limitations and they won't go over that in a particular state. So while there's not a steadfast rule on determining when you got a crisis, I think when you look across the board and you see that in actuality you have maybe 4 or 5 carriers that are willing to write coverage, then you got an availability issue.